It's revealing that I'm 58, and the narrative I'm deconstructing is almost 2,000 years old, and lots of people have devoted years of intense PhD study, often their entire lives, to Bible study, and nobody seems to have laid it out square as I'm about to do. I've done it extemporaneously, but now I'll try to write some clean copy that is more user-friendly, to add to my Gemini thingy, what to call it, my Gemini Marcus LLMA.I. I'm coughing like a TB patient, all blocked up, some sort of pneumonia, and cannot breathe properly without pain in left rear midsection of body, coughing up phlegm, had a long day's scavenging and actually met someone and had an intelligent conversation, but back to Peter, Acts, and the problem Jesus had with the obtuseness of his listeners, now readers. Pushy has come over and is jealous of my typewriter monopolizing my fingers, and the screen monopolizing my attention. So much for brevity and succinct abstract writing. It's 2 a.m., by the way. So the Catholic PhD kept reminding his interlocutor, whose name he kept using, like you would when condescending to patronize a small child by debating their naive, ignorant, little self, that I have a PhD. Also that everyone he knows and interacts with who also spent 5 or more years in cult indoctrination, agrees there is an alleged consensus over his position. Among, of course, people who live in the same bubble. Oh well, silly me, if they all agree then who am I to debate them? I guess he'll just patronize me, kindly, then get angry if I refuse to agree with him. Obviously he has the PhD, so I must be stupid. Right. But his pseudo-arguments were a complete shambles. I watched over 3 hours of it. In the end he presented himself as the victim of it. Because it seems we didn't respect that he has a PhD, and there is consensus among his cult group. Imagine that. Cult thralls in consensus after long years of indoctrination and brainwashing. Well. Imagine. Well, surely no group of people were ever wrong, right? Only individuals. Sorry, so to the bit I'll make the poster of. I just got angry with Pushy, for headbutting my hands and stopping me from being able to write. So please fucking pay attention, and don't have had me being mean to Pushy for nothing. She deserves my time and attention, you fucking certainly have done nothing to deserve it. And I'm not going to gain anything from you, or from doing this for you, whereas Pushy gives me more love than any human in my entire life ever did. She is making a sacrifice even, for you, so fucking put on your thinking hats, switch on, and see if you can pretend to be capable of self-honesty, critical reasoning. Just pretend you are in a movie, playing such a character, and being paid millions to convince me you are a reasoning, honest, human being with a brain you use for something other than getting paid and laid. Just play the role for a few minutes. There are at least 5 levels of pure assumption and obvious deduction. I'd want to write induction, but we are dealing with pure narrative. Not some observable phenomenon. No objective reality to induce anything from. No, we begin with an assumption. So at best we can be as logical and thorough in our deductions from it. So, be mindful at all times, we are beginning from a bunch of assumptions. That someone called Peter existed. That he had the experiences someone else is reporting, here, in Acts. That the someone else is reporting them accurately and precisely, with the desire to add nothing, subtract nothing, spin nothing, frame nothing. We are assuming a conscientious narrator with no ulterior motives. They just want to accurately report on something. Is the narrator in our version Peter himself? Did Peter write this? Or did someone write a report they heard from someone else, about what Peter told them? We don't have the original texts, right? So can we even trust the competence and conscientiousness of the translator? Did they have ulterior motives? Did they do anything to the narrative? Add anything? Subtract anything? Make any accidental errors? Deliberately choose certain options that would be reasonable, based on ulterior motives? Wanting Peter to have said something, perhaps he did not, at least directly, say. I remind you the entire Bible is full of narratives. Stories. People writing down that someone else did and said particular things. The most important assumption is that there is a being they refer to as God. Interestingly, this God has only ever, according to the canon of literature, spoken to a tiny number of humans. And here we have to start looking closer. The most authoritative claim should be attached to instances where this God is reported as speaking in the first person. Doesn't it bother anyone that God or Jesus would trust such a system of second-hand reporting? If you were Jesus, or God, or just had a political manifesto, would you trust just one or two other trusted people to spread your gospel? I'd certainly speak directly to as many people as possible. Make videos. Write books myself and sign them. Make sure there was as little room for corruption and distortion and abuse of my ideas as possible. But God, and Jesus, choose just to trust a tiny number of humans, over thousands of years. They don't decide, maybe, at least once each generation, to appear to a group of the brightest minds, the most ethical characters, and give them a first-hand rundown of things. They'd appear a few times, to a few people, in visions, and dreams, and then leave off entirely for thousands of years. Watching as the humans corrupt, distort, abuse their original messages. Make terrible translation errors with the best of intentions. etc. This is a huge and very strange assumption to be comfortable with. Makes me wonder. God does this very few times in the Bible. In the Quran, he never does it, except in passages quoting the Old Testament. The Torah. I can think of a few such rare cases. God speaking in the Garden of Eden to Adam and Eve. Oddly, Catholic guy claims this incident never took place, as Eden never existed. God speaking to Moses. God speaking to Noah. God bragging to Satan in Job, the first book of the Bible actually published apparently. So, someone describes God speaking in the first person is as authoritative as it gets. Remembering, of course, we need to be willing to assume the story actually happened. And as described, in our translation. After a bunch of earlier translations also conscientiously, and competently, translated some supposed original text. Or verbal history. I am the Lord thy God, just to be clear and avoid confusion, and I command this, and that, and you tell everyone else to do this, and that, and not this, etc. Paul claims he had a vision on the road to Damascus, in which Jesus spoke to him. I think this is described in the first person. Does the voice say, Saul, it's me, Jesus, whose followers you persecute? Any commands given by this voice have the highest authority the narrative can offer. It claims to be God, or Jesus, giving the commands. Who would dare lie about such a thing, right? God commanded me to command you to give me the best of the best so I can live in luxury. Oh, God, Jesus, also commanded me to command you, so, you know, God and Jesus command you, to obey me, and submit to me in all things. Got it? Good. Surely I'd never lie to you. Next we have what the Quran consists of. God speaking in the second person. Correct my grammar etc. I am just starting this sort of writing and deconstruction. Sadly over 2000 years either no one did this, or their work was destroyed, or kept hidden from us. So in the Quran an angel speaks for God, to the prophet. So a voice in his head. The voice says I am an angel, or whatever, and I speak for God. So listen. God/Jesus said. Got it? In this way the voice has the second-hand authority, transferred authority, of God. I call this God or Jesus speaking in the second person. Further removed, we have someone telling us that someone speaking for God said such and such. This would be God speaking in the third person. Or, I'm not sure. Actually, in Acts, the writer, or translator of the original text, claims that Peter claims to have had a dream in which a voice speaks to him. OK, stop already. Deep breath. Dream. Not vision. Not so this angel appears on the road, right, and he's, like, telling me to. A dream. Not sure how much authority you give your dreams. And then, some guy tells you, right, mate, I had this dream, right, and in this dream a voice says now you go take Fred's motorbike and keep it, 'cause now it's yours. And like, I replied, Lord, how would you feel if he took your motorbike based on that dream of his? Now pay attention again. The voice told Peter to do something. The voice did not command Peter to tell anyone else to do anything. Peter, eat more fruit. Versus, Peter, in my name, command all my followers to eat apples on Mondays. Pay attention. There is a huge leap of assumption from Peter do this, to Peter, tell everyone else also to do this. A huge leap. What reason does anyone have to assume the voice intends everyone to do what it told Peter to do? Took me a while to notice this. Human brains take a lot of time and mindful concentration to notice the obvious. I hope in hindsight, as usual, it is easy to notice. Like the gestalt you finally see within a painting, and then cannot not see ever again. Switch on. We read that Peter responded to the voice with Lord. Lord. How would you respond to a voice in your head, if you were of a rather superstitious type? Sort of terrifying, I'd think. What are the sort of generic, cautious, careful, respectful personal pronouns, or epithets, with which to answer an ominous voice in your head? So Lord might be the equivalent of Sir, or My Lord, or Your Honor. A generic term. We make a huge assumption for the writer, when we claim Lord proves that at least Peter himself thought the voice was that of Jesus. First, we are assuming he recognized the voice as Jesus. And second, that it was not the devil, or some jinn, some demon, some trickster, pretending to be Jesus. As in the satanic verse episode of the original Proto-Quran. Hell, might just have been Peter's imagination. Hell, in desperation you might imagine lots of different sorts of people talking to you in your dreams. And remember, the narrative describes a mere dream. Even if it was a vision, remember there are lots of natural hallucinogenics etc. Maybe Peter had eaten some magic bread. AP.S. I think it fair to give visions more transferred authority than mere dreams. If I was going to try to give my own arguments the greatest transferred authority by claiming they came from God or Jesus, I'd make up a vision, like Saul on the road to Damascus. It's more authoritative. God/Jesus appeared to me and said, "This is God/Jesus, so, Marcus, this is my plan for you, and the people who are going to follow you. Now you have my authority, and speak in my name, with my authority." So I've covered just a few of the assumptions heaped upon assumptions that people who desperately want to use Peter, in Acts, to justify them going against Genesis 1.29, and the role model of the only righteous man Noah, and the prophet's visions of, or aspirations for, the kingdom of God/heaven on earth, the New Jerusalem, simply because they like the taste of meat, and other animal products. Corner people, and somehow get them to be honest. And they will admit they don't really care about nutrition. They don't really believe animal farming, enslavement of animals, rape and murder of animals, is a necessary evil at all. They just like the taste. They just want to enjoy their satisfaction. Their pleasure. In consuming animal products. To enjoy the perceived benefits of products that come at the price of animal suffering, misery, slavery, and murder. And remember, let's assume we feel comfortable assuming that Peter meant he for used to understand that he had recognized the voice as that of Jesus. And that the voice actually had said, "Peter, kill and eat." And that Peter wants us to understand that what Jesus meant is that we all should kill and eat. Exactly what is it that we are meant to kill and eat? But wait, stop. We've come so far now. If we go along with all these assumptions, then what is it that Jesus, via Peter, in Acts, is commanding us to do? To literally kill the animals ourselves. To kill the animals ourselves. I think this is why the Catholic, and many others, feel they should hunt and kill animals themselves. But wait, there's more. Which animals? Are crawling animals. There seems universal, not just Catholic cult, consensus that the original text, when correctly translated, refers to reptiles. So, any Christian who quotes Peter in Acts to somehow legitimate their eating of animal products, better be ready to kill the animals themselves. And also to be eating reptiles. Why? Well shit, Jesus commands it. Right. Or did you suddenly find this narrative of Peter, in Acts, probably might not be the focus of your next pseudo-argument for not going vegan? So, to recap. Our long list of assumptions. If you are good at math, at probability, you'll understand that your final probability is the probability of each individual instance, multiplied by the probability of the next one, and so on. So the more assumptions you add to the series, the lower the probability is, that your final outcome, your argument being correct, is. Here we go. God and Jesus exist. People wrote accurate stories about them. These stories were perfectly translated into multiple languages. Over and over again, until they reached us in our language, intact. And our understanding of them, given our current culture and language, is accurate. So that God and Jesus managed to replicate, in our mind, the message they had in their mind, thousands of years ago. If the earlier assumptions happen to be true, then at least now you have the last part true. Your understanding of what the materials we have inherited, actually say. Peter, in Acts, making the long series of leaps of faith, assumptions, tells us that Jesus commands all Christians to kill and eat reptiles. Or Jesus merely commands Peter to kill and eat reptiles. Or some voice in his head in a dream told Peter to kill and eat reptiles. Or someone thought the new cult would get more recruits, get access to more power, more money, more resources, and be a bigger success, if the new cult allowed people to kill and eat whatever they want, and still get to heaven. I leave it to you. But please, it's either or. Either you kill and eat reptiles, based on this narrative. Or you seek answers to the question, does the Bible actually command Jews and Christians to eat meat, elsewhere in the Bible? But, honestly, you will find absolutely contradictory, mutually irreconcilable, passages in the Bible. Like God with Noah, after the flood, it seems to me a test. You get to choose which passages you will live by. Love your neighbor. Genocide your neighbor. Genesis 1.29. The existing books of Moses. You shall know the tree by its fruits. By its actions. Jesus was not optimistic about how many would choose correctly. The few. The wheat. They have the secret Torah in their hearts. The kingdom of heaven within. And possibly, to help you choose rightly, Jesus has just allowed the unoriginal, Nesorian, book of Deuteronomy, to become available to you. So you, even Jews, can see what God intended. It will then be up to you to show your true colors. Are you merely looking for excuses to do evil to other sentient beings? Excuses to enslave them? To exploit them as mere means to your own ends? To murder them? Even eat them? Or are you looking for truth? According to Jesus in the narratives, it is ultimately about negative selection evolution. A few people are wheat. The rest are tares. The tares must be negatively selected out. God did this with the Great Flood. Jesus promises to burn them. Is it a Mandela effect, this next time by fire? Anyway, it's your choice. Not mine. I have conscientiously attempted to give you more perfect information. If compassion, empathy, avoiding unnecessary harm and destruction, freedom, liberty, justice, and such ideals do not resonate with you, then you do not belong in any sort of heaven on earth, or anywhere else. It seems God and Jesus, in the narrative, either cannot transform you any more than they can transform a tare into wheat. Or they choose not to. I transform you. But I am not God, or Jesus. I certainly don't have that power. If I had it, I would. but I can't. So, like God and Jesus, I will have to leave it to you to decide. Heaven or burn. And to step outside the narrative, just explain to me how you expect that everyone choosing slavery, and injustice, and violence, and cruelty, and murder, can possibly generate a world where people can live free, among kind, gentle, creative, helpful, trustworthy people. Yes, I know, your self-deceiving exclusive exceptional entitlement hallucination. Good luck with that. I think you'll find people like Trump, Epstein, Musk, Gates etc. have all monopolized that exclusive exceptional entitlement already. They aren't going to share. After all, that would contradict your hallucination, right? It would not longer be exclusive or exceptional. It would just be a universal entitlement. Which is an oxymoron, right? Marcus Heinrich Rebach. 3 a.m. the 23rd of July, 2026.